Senior, your body? Xiao Yan slightly turned his head, looking at the Dark King, whose forehead was continuously dripping with blood-colored sweat beads the size of beans. He immediately asked with concern. From Xiao Yan's perception, it seemed that the injuries within the Dark King's body were not caused by external forces, but rather by something internal. Was it related to the demonic robe behind him? In response to Xiao Yan's concern, the Dark King's gaze remained fixed solely on him, as if examining something within Xiao Yan's body. Under the Dark King's intense gaze, Xiao Yan's soul trembled slightly. Even his brilliant spiritual palace immediately fell silent, and a deep, soul-chilling fear slowly began to rise. Where is the Nether King and the other powerful members of the Xiao clan? The Holy King. Yaoji hurriedly stepped forward, her beautiful eyes filled with urgency as she asked. This was her last hope. It's not time yet. Before I tell you these things, I'm afraid there are still some troublesome matters that need to be dealt with. The Dark King shook his head, lifting his head to look at the distant, suddenly swirling and twisting void, as a series of suffocating, overwhelming auras rapidly approached. Swoosh! Netherwall, Dark King. It seems we are getting closer and closer to the core of the netherworld. A brilliant beam of light swept out, followed by hundreds of elite soldiers flickering into existence. These were the forces from the Human Realm Center and the Angel Kingdom. This is the last line of defense protecting the Nether City. If it falls, the Nether King's situation will become even more dangerous. Right now, the Nether King is fighting against the two most powerful beings from beyond the realms. If they interfere, things will only become more complicated. The Dark King gradually stepped out of the swirling vortex of darkness, and the demonic robe behind him let out a series of horrifying demonic sounds, as if it wanted to completely devour him. Does the Nether King's battle require us to intervene? When Xiao Yan asked this, he couldn't help but let out a helpless smile. The Dark King's strength had already reached the end of reincarnation, and the Nether King, even stronger than him, had probably reached an indescribable level. A battle at that level was beyond even his demonic form's ability to interfere. You brat, getting discouraged already? Seeing Xiao Yan's brief, helpless smile, the Dark King suddenly patted his shoulder. Gather the forces of the Endless Flame Alliance to protect the Netherwall and intercept the enemy's army. Let's do this. The Xiao clan's revenge begins with them. Xiao Yan's eyes blazed with battle intent, filled with an overwhelming and crazy bloodlust. It had been a long time since he felt such immense pressure. Today, a bloody battle would unfold here. Sacred Flame, Golden Dragon King's power, Dragon Bones? So many powerful forces, it would be a waste to let them be consumed. Looking at Xiao Yan's appearance, a rare madness surged deep within the Dark King's eyes as well. The unfinished plan from back then, let it continue through this guy. No one knew that he was Xiao Yunming, the younger brother of the Xiao clan's clan leader. During the first great battle between heaven and earth, he was severely poisoned by the leader of the extraterritorial realm. Seeking treatment from the Angel Kingdom proved futile. Furthermore, the clan leader had already foreseen the impending doom of the Xiao clan and ordered him to secretly leave and establish a new estate. He ended up falling into a time-space vortex while searching for a new place to settle, only to accidentally enter the Netherworld. Once in the Netherworld, Xiao Yunming clashed with the Nether King several times, and the two were nearly evenly matched, forming a deep bond. Because the Nether King had once received help from the Xiao clan's supreme elder, Xiao Tianyuan, he put in great effort to assist Xiao Yunming in establishing a new estate. However, just as Xiao Yunming tried to contact the Xiao clan, the extraterritorial realm suffered a crushing defeat, and the Xiao clan was on the verge of annihilation. At this life-and-death moment, the Nether King and the Dark King intervened from afar, taking the last few powerful members of the Xiao clan to the new estate in the Netherworld, where they were sheltered in the Nether City. Then, devastated by grief, a dangerous transformation occurred within him. At the brink of survival, Xiao Yunming, relying on his incredible willpower and talent, fused the power of the leader of the extraterritorial realm and the Xiao clan's strength. This led to the formation of the early stages of demonic power. Afterward, Xiao Yunming, driven by the desire for revenge, poured all his efforts into studying demonic power. He finally succeeded, becoming the Dark King, a terrifying figure in the Netherworld. Sadly, the Netherworld was full of constraints, and unless one's strength reached the quasi-god level, it was impossible to leave. Thus, the Dark King had to use his extraordinary divine power to protect the Nether City from invasion while secretly observing the Great Thousand Worlds. He discreetly spread some seeds of demonic power, and by chance, some mad individuals from the extraterritorial evil clan discovered it. Whether it was the demon fruit or his own research, everything indicated that the side effects of demonic power were enormous. The overwhelming burden, far exceeding what a human could bear, was something no ordinary person could endure. Now, the culmination of the Dark King's lifelong research, the most wicked of creations, the demonic robe, had turned demonic power into a new attribute that could finally be controlled. The Dark King knew well that in his pursuit of demonic power, his talent and fate had already been exhausted. Even his life and soul had been completely devoted to demonic power, leaving him no longer able to become the purest of demons. The appearance of Xiao Yin ignited a crazed plan in the Dark King's heart. His goal was still revenge. Revenge against the angelic kingdom, which had stood by while his people perished. Revenge against the despicable lord of the human realm center. With his lifetime of effort, he would forge this world. As the only demon, the supreme powerhouse. When the radiance of the demon's glory shone once more, even the entire universe would pale in comparison. What is the Dark King planning? The forces of Yao Ji and the others were relatively weak. Following Xiao Yan's orders, they could only gather their strength from the rear, forming an energy barrier to reinforce the nether wall and stop the enemy's forces from advancing. On the actual battlefield, only the two archangels from the angelic kingdom, along with the deputy lord of the human realm center, the human godchild, and the forgetful immortal Xun'er, were involved in the battle against the netherwall. A few of their elite half-step ninefold guards were also fighting on the front lines. Meanwhile, on Xiao Yan's side, the decisive combat strength came down to Wenlin, the Dark King, and himself. Master, leave these two to us. We'll do our best to stop them. Wenlin and Yu Rushuang exchanged glances, fully aware of the dire situation at hand. You handle that one. We'll take care of this Archangel Commander. As they spoke, figures flickered. Kai Lin and Yun Yun engaged with Archangel Bellin, while the King of Beasts and Yu Rushuang took on the soul body of forgetful immortal Xun'er. However, their combined strength would likely not hold out for long. The remaining two opponents were still formidable. Little brat, let me see your potential. The Dark King seemed quite pleased with Xiao Yin, his gaze as fiery as one viewing a meticulously carved treasure. Faced with the Dark King's cryptic words, Xiao Yin felt somewhat puzzled, but with the great enemy before him, he could only focus and adopt a serious demeanor. Enough with the chattering. Tell me where the Xiao clan is or die. The human god-child roared with imposing presence, his invisible pressure nearly surpassing that of the Dark King. The power he released, even with the interference of the Netherworld realm, still exuded a force that could stir the balance of yin and yang, reversing the universe itself. It was as though this power was beyond what even reincarnation could handle. What is this power? Xiao Yin, who had thought the Dark King had reached the peak of all realms, now felt his remaining confidence waver after hearing the human godchild's soul-piercing roar. The human godchild's power was even more terrifying than the Dark King's. The human godchild now stood calmly in midair, a sneer of the highest arrogance at the corner of his lips. Beneath him stood Xiao Yin and the other elite members of the Endless Flame Alliance, and behind him, his coalition forces. It was clear that he had full control over the battlefield. Fear, unease, and disbelief flooded everyone's hearts as they stared at the towering figure of the human godchild. That level of strength was simply beyond anything they could hope to oppose. I didn't expect him to transcend reincarnation. Do Shin, what an enticing rank. This guy's power must have surpassed the peak of the 9th reincarnation stage and entered the half-god level. The Dark King's eyes flickered with realization, his tone growing serious as his plans firmed up. The gap between the ninth reincarnation stage's peak and half-god level was far greater than it appeared. The two were not even on the same level anymore. What does half-god mean? Upon hearing those two elusive, dry terms, Xiao Yan's soul seemed to shrink. These words were beyond anything he had ever understood. Below the reincarnation stage, everyone is but an ant. My guess is that he is now at least as powerful as 3 of my peak selves. As the Dark King spoke, he cast a curious glance at Xiao Yan. Even though he had revealed his opponent's true strength, Xiao Yan showed no fear. Instead, his eyes burned with an unyielding, bloodthirsty battle spirit. This relentless will to fight impressed the Dark King. There's a chance. The dark voice of the Dark King slowly emerged from the depths of the darkness. At this point, there was no turning back. Even if it meant sacrificing everyone's lives, they could never escape this place, especially with the presence of the 2 archangels and countless angelic attendants from the angel kingdom. Their goal was clear: to make the netherworld realm disappear forever, ensuring that even Xiao Yan and the high-ranking members of the Endless Flame Alliance would be completely wiped out. In that case, the angel kingdom would remain unchallenged in the Great Thousand Worlds, maintaining their supreme status in the center of the human realm. Boom, boom. Instantly, the 5 battlefields erupted into action. The Endless Flame Alliance's coalition was clashing against the forces of the Angel Kingdom and the center of the human realm. The King of Beasts and Yu Shuang were facing off against forgetful immortal Xuanzuan. Kailin and Yun were up against Archangel Belin. Xiao Yan and the Dark King were each battling 2 of the strongest opponents. Archangel Ares was the first to chant the long angelic chant. A series of brilliant sacred light seals fell from the wings behind her, filling the dim netherworld with vibrant colors. Clearly, she had no intention of giving Xiao Yan any chance to catch his breath. Boom! Faced with the terrifying power of Archangel Ares, the Dark King snorted coldly. Black tides surged from the countless voids, surrounding the area and sealing off all escape. But before Ares could act further, the human godchild engaged him in battle. Silk. Seeing the unstoppable momentum of the enemy's attack, Xiao Yan's eyes contracted slightly, and he couldn't help but suck in a sharp breath. The power of this archangel had already reached the peak of the 9th reincarnation stage, mid-phase. She was even stronger than forgetful immortal Xuanzuan had been just moments ago. As the angel feathers neared, emitting a pure and destructive sacred aura, Xiao Yan's skin, flesh, and even soul trembled slightly. Are you afraid? Do you want to escape? The resting place of the Xiao clan's powerful warriors was within reach. Would you retreat in the face of danger? The demonic power within Xiao Yan, which had been dormant for so long, now stirred like a mischievous demon child, its vile voice echoing in his mind. No. Shaking his head slightly, Xiao Yan's eyes began to burn with madness. The bloodline deep within him surged forth in full force. Now, only bloodshed remained. He would break through all chains and shackles with the blood of battle. Since these arrogant powerhouses thought so highly of themselves, he would wipe them out here and make the angel kingdom slaughter angels, as well as the lord of the human realm, understand what the Xiao clan truly was. Giving up, so be it. Though the 9th reincarnation stage is impressive in my eyes, it's no more than an ant. As Xiao Yan slowly closed his eyes, a cold, deadly killing intent began to emerge on Archangel Ares' flawless face. Angels of the Angel Kingdom were traditionally weak in combat, only capable of casting blessings, but their slaughter lineage was different. Eerie purple angel wings slowly unfurled, vibrating rapidly in the dark void. One by one, the purple angel feathers began to fall, vaguely forming a massive and ancient mystical light array. As more angel feathers fell and circled around Ares, the speed of their rotation grew increasingly terrifying. In the center of the emerging light array, a massive purple halo hovered. The holy halo, formed entirely from Ares' angel feathers, was magnificent and awe-inspiring, as if it connected to the purest and most sacred angelic realm in existence. As it materialized, dark forces began to gravitate toward it, drawn by its power. Looking up, inside the halo, there appeared a breathtakingly beautiful and sacred paradise. The moment Xiao gazed upon it, a long-forgotten tremor surged from deep within his soul, followed by a terrifying gravitational pull, as if it could devour everything. A strange smile appeared at the corner of Aries' lips, and her angel wings flapped again, unleashing an overwhelming surge of divine power, so majestic that it seemed capable of judging all evil in this world. Meanwhile, far off, Belen and forgetful immortal Xuanzuan's battle was gradually tilting in their favor. This guy seems to have a trump card? High in the sky, the Dark King, enshrouded in a tide of darkness, glanced at Xiao. He noticed that some of the power within Xiao was gradually boiling. The temperature of the world around them began to rise. The source of this anomaly didn't feel like flames, but more like a terrifying force capable of distorting the very fabric of reality. With a flap of the angel wings, endless sacred halos accompanied by streams of pure light threads suddenly sliced through the dark void, as if a divine being had descended, casually manipulating the energy around them before aiming at the space where Xiao sat. If this attack lands, even Xiao might not be able to save himself. Be careful. The two women fighting with Belen in the distance quickly turned their heads. Seeing Xiao in such a bizarre state, they couldn't help but roar in alarm. Before their voices could fully escape, the sacred halo suddenly descended from thin air. The entire void seemed to be violently torn apart, as a terrifying fear, originating from the deepest recesses of the bloodline and soul, spread rapidly. The destructive energy of this attack was shockingly close to the power of a quasi-god technique. Combined with Ares' peak 9th reincarnation stage strength and wings of an angel, it seemed as if everyone held their breath. Even with the dragon godbone's blessing, Xiao would still be reduced to dust under this attack. Flame. Mantra. 4th stage, blazing heaven realm. Sensing the approach of death, Xiao tightly closed eyes suddenly snapped open. Then, his entire body began to chant in an ancient, long, and low murmur. Boom, boom. A tremendous, unstoppable force surged wildly, and an awe-inspiring aura erupted from Xiao body, causing the entire world to tremble. The path of the flame mantra turned crimson, and within it, energy seals shimmering with brilliant colors appeared out of nowhere, each carrying faint traces of primordial breath. These seals erupted from Xiao soul and head, colliding with the sacred halo in an instant, right before everyone's eyes. Boom! The two forces collided in a split second, and an earth-shattering shockwave exploded, causing the entire dim netherworld void to quake and collapse in that moment. In the void, endless bottomless black abysses appeared, and huge cracks spread like giant dragons in all directions. However, this disturbance only lasted for a brief moment before the ripples created by the two attacks were swiftly devoured by the encroaching dark tides. The netherworld void retained its original appearance. The sacred halo was overwhelmingly powerful, but after being infiltrated by the other's strange power, it rapidly shattered. Up in the sky, the smile on the human god-child's face vanished in an instant, and a trace of viciousness surfaced. Despite his extraordinary divine power, he couldn't easily defeat the Darkness King. No matter what terrifying attack he unleashed, it would be devoured by the Darkness King's demon robe. That demon robe was like an abyssal monster that could never be satiated. Even if he used his demigod power, it would still devour everything. This fluctuation, is it the flame mantra? In an instant, feeling the earth-shattering explosion below, the human god-child's gaze was filled with astonishment. With his experience, he naturally knew that the flame mantra was a genuine divine rank technique. However, its cultivation conditions were harsh, and only a few could succeed in mastering it. Moreover, only a handful of people knew the exact path to its mastery. But someone like the Xiao clan's leader, Xiao, who had reached the 5th stage of the flame mantra and wielded extraordinary power, was nearly invincible in this world. This alone demonstrated the terrifying nature of the flame mantra. Upon reaching the demigod stage, the human godchild finally understood how elusive the so-called Do Shen level truly was. Divine techniques, divine body, divine realm soul, divine rank techniques, One had to master at least one of these to even qualify to challenge the true Do Shun stage. As for the so-called demigods, they were merely striving to approach these four divine realms. Even someone as powerful as the human god child himself, after a lifetime of effort, would never touch even one of the four divine realms, let alone challenge the Do Shun. That level was dangerously tempting, but the risks involved were enough to chill one's heart. Boom! The roar of the explosion swept across the area, and the attacks of the two forces instantly vanished into the darkness. Ares, standing high in the sky, looked down with shock in her eyes. Within that strange power, it seemed there was an even older and more mysterious force emerging. Primordial power? Clearly, this force had once again reshaped Ares' understanding of Xiao. Interesting. In the next moment, Ares' elegant features twisted into a ferocious snarl. She howled at Xiao in a hoarse voice, no longer resembling the dignified archangel commander she once was. Xiao didn't answer. The power of the Flame Mantra's fourth stage, which he had mastered after the end of the Dragon Clan era, was now unleashed. With the might of this technique, he could incinerate an entire heaven, and its power was nearly on par with a quasi-god technique. But that fluctuation, like the primordial breath, what kind of power was that? Though faint, Xiao could clearly sense the waves it carried. Even the reincarnation, at best, was but an ant in comparison. You think this is enough to stand against me? You are too young, too arrogant. Angelic altar, open for me. Today, I will bring you to a complete judgment here. Ares' expression had turned crazed, her words and actions resembling a madman who had lost all sense of reason. In the next moment, the angel feathers behind Ares violently trembled, then surged into the pitch-black clouds of the sky. The wings of an angel flapped, causing the angel feathers to form a kind of supreme altar. The air, and everything in the void, seemed to be drawn into a divine altar in an instant. With the motion of his will, the order of this world began to shift ever so slightly. This is the power of the judgment angel from the angel kingdom? At that moment, the demon king of the fallen angels and Lu Yun, who had been fiercely resisting the enemy coalition using the power of reincarnation, suddenly went silent. Their eyes were filled with an indescribable shock. Strange. The demonic power that couldn't be used temporarily in my body is starting to awaken? On Xiao palm, the flame's Saint Cauldron flickered slightly, but the demonic power within his body was uncontrollable, faintly threatening to break out. He lifted his gaze and stared at the divine altar. A feeling of soul-shattering terror surged within him. Xiao couldn't help but clench his fists. In that instant, the danger came crashing down like a tidal wave, causing him to feel an indescribable suffocation. This person had already discovered that he could forcibly provoke the demonic power with angelic power. Once the demonic power within Xiao appeared, the other party could use angelic power to completely judge and punish him here. In an instant, beams of sacred light threads fell upon the edges of the nether wall, flickering in and out of brightness, forming two distinct worlds with the dark, gloomy netherworld below. The sacred light threads were scorching hot, seemingly impervious to any power of resistance or opposition. This altar will be your end. Ares looked down at Xiao with a lofty gaze. This time, even if the latter possessed transcendent abilities, he would fall here forever. Flame Saint Cauldron, sacred flame runes. Xiao eyes blazed with bloodlust, and he slowly dropped a drop of his own vital blood into the flame god's cauldron. This battle required the full activation of the Flame God's Cauldron. All of his power was now being poured into the cauldron. The ancient divine artifact, originating from the Xiao clan's ancestors, slowly began to radiate a dazzling light. Sacred, scorching sacred runes spread out, faintly holding the power to contend with the heavenly altar. Buzz, buzz, buzz. When the angelic altar, completely forged from divine angelic power, finally took shape, a smug smile suddenly appeared on the lips of Archangel Ares. The altar now stood, filled with the purest purifying power from the angel kingdom. That extraordinary power was more than enough to crush Xiao into dust. Her jade-like hand changed again, and once more, with the endless power of angels, she gathered a terrifying trump card. In the palm of her hand, faint pure white light threads quickly spread. Beams of divine aura surged upward, unimpeded, flowing into the angelic altar, amplifying the altar's purifying divine power. The pure white light threads were like rays of dawn slicing through the darkness. Under her control, they continually burned and purified every trace of evil energy in the void. As they rose, they transformed into tiny, exquisite angelic shadows, circling the angelic altar like humble servants, making the altar's influence even more powerful. Where the miniature angelic figures passed, the void was left with a faint, divine halo. The divine power within the altar now surpassed anything Xiao had known, enough to overwhelm any ninth reincarnation stage powerhouse. Won't you self-destruct? Your courage and resolve are admirable, but unfortunately, this boring farce ends here. Archangel Ares focused on the angelic altar, where the sacred light threads were enough to shatter Xiao body into pieces. She looked at the seemingly calm Xiao with interest and spoke in a flat tone. Xiao face darkened, his lips twitching in a sinister sneer. His face twisted into an expression of pure madness, and his eyes burned with an unprecedented crazed intensity. Flame God's Cauldron. Faced with this hopeless situation, Xiao took a deep breath, his eyes filled with endless madness. Then he no longer held back. His power of reincarnation and the sacred flame power surged in unison with the Flame God's Cauldron, releasing an overwhelming force. In that moment, it seemed as though he was using every last bit of his strength. Even if he were to die today, he would make these hypocritical angels pay a heavy price. Boom! As the Flame God's Cauldron rose from behind Xiao, the world suddenly boiled with energy. Heaven and earth flipped, and the dark matter of the void trembled. 9 sacred runes circled around the Flame God's Cauldron, directly leaping through the void, crashing into the angelic altar. Boom! Unfortunately, the commotion was nothing more than child's play in front of the angelic sanctuary, failing to stir even the slightest ripple before slowly fading away. Facing Xiao desperate counterattack, Archangel Ares' beautiful eyes revealed a trace of strange delight, her contemptuous smile tinged with mockery. Boom! Without giving Xiao any chance to resist, Ares' wings of an angel flicked slightly, releasing countless purple angelic energies that roared out, transforming into numerous sacred judgment phantoms, emanating overwhelming divine might, which slowly provoked the dormant demonic power within Xiao to spread. The shadow of death loomed over his heart. Xiao suddenly took a heavy breath, turning slightly to glance at Kai Lin and Yun, who were fiercely battling, a deep sense of reluctance filling his heart. His eyes then shifted, seemingly seeing through the nether wall to the core location, which should be their destination. Angel Sanctuary Fall. Forever suppress evil spirits. All emotions instantly vanished from Ares' face, as if she were a god walking among mortals. Her commanding voice shook everyone present. Her jade hand slowly extended, pointing decisively at Xiao. Surrounded by countless angelic phantoms, the angelic sanctuary began to slowly descend. Get inside. Watching Xiao struggle in his dying moments, Ares twisted her jade fingers, and the remaining angel feathers instantly distorted the void. In the blink of an eye, they completely pulled Xiao into the angelic sanctuary, aiming to obliterate him here and now. The moment Xiao entered the angelic sanctuary, the surrounding sacred energies, like judgmental overseers from above, pierced through his skin and flesh, directly striking the dormant demonic power within him. The dazzling angelic sanctuary descended, with its countless light threads shining like divine imprints, easily descending from the 9 heavens, erasing and purging all evil forces in its path. In the dim void, a massive rift suddenly appeared. Countless judgmental divine powers rained down from the sanctuary, and even the forces of the Dark King, as well as the residual evil fluctuations left behind by the fallen protectors, quickly dispersed. It seemed that no power could survive under such a sacred purifying force. Even the sacred flame, under the purification of the sanctuary, showed signs of being stripped from Xiao body. Clack, clack, boom, boom. Countless pleasant sounds suddenly emanated from the rift in the angelic sanctuary. In an instant, the angelic sanctuary completely enveloped Xiao Yan's body. A multitude of emotions, small, uneasy, and filled with awe, rushed from the depths of his soul. It felt as though a thoroughly wicked person had suddenly entered the most sacred realm of angels. With the demonic power flowing through Xiao Yan's bloodline and soul, now stirred by Ares, there was no trace of any escape this time. As this scene unfolded, all of Xiao Yan's negative emotions, his demonic breath, were thoroughly disturbed and agitated by the sacred power. Trapped in a cage, even self-destruction would be useless. The shadow of death surged quickly into his heart. Xiao Yan, you can't die. In the distance, two graceful figures suddenly broke free from their attackers, and their bodies shot toward Xiao Yan, their eyes bursting with tears, waves of sorrow flooding their minds. Explode for me. Facing the two women charging toward him, Xiao Yan could only offer a helpless smile, slowly shaking his head. A heart-wrenching roar erupted as he gathered every ounce of strength for one last strike, crashing again into the angelic sanctuary. Boom! The collision tore the heavens and earth apart, causing countless living beings to gasp in awe. Unfortunately, it was still futile. Xiao Yan only felt his scalp tingle as he looked up at the increasingly solid angelic sanctuary. His final trump card had been fully prepared. The ancient cauldron, with 9 sacred inscriptions, shimmered like an indestructible ancient bell, releasing a soul-shattering chime. Yet, even so, it could not protect Xiao Yan. Under such force, Xiao Yan felt all the vitality in his body quickly drain away, a weariness sweeping over him like a tide, slowly drowning his will. Protect them. With a slow push of his arm, the flame god's cauldron, empowered by the 9 sacred inscriptions, instantly enveloped the two graceful figures. In that moment, it was as if life and death were worlds apart, and Xiao Yan expended every last bit of his strength. The surrounding void began to distort, the searing divine power burning his body, his vision growing blurry. He vaguely saw the two figures, so frail and tear-streaked, looking so pitiful and lovable. His skin began to rot, and the hidden demonic power coiled around his bones. It seemed that everything had reached its end. Life, sacred flame, the power of the Golden Dragon King, even the Dragon God Bone and the Imperial Flame Ring, along with many other forces, reluctantly fell from Xiao Yan's shattered and melting body, as if everything had already been decided. To die by my hand would be your best fate. Looking at Xiao Yan, who was unable to move within the angelic altar, the purifying power of the angel's energy made his skin begin to rot, and even the life force within him rapidly faded. Archangel Ares sneered with contempt. Once Xiao Yan perished, with his power and the power of the human godchild, the Dark King would be but a trivial matter. The balance of victory in the Netherworld War had already tipped the moment Xiao Yan fell. The once proud and mighty heir of the Xiao clan had nearly been wiped out by the combined might of the Angel Kingdom and the Human Realm Center. After countless reincarnations, this descendant of the Xiao clan emerged, yet still stubbornly tried to save his clan alone, hoping to restore the once dominant Xiao clan to the world. How laughable! Truly laughable! Both the unknown demonic power and the two terrifying names of the Xiao clan would be wiped out in this Netherworld War. The rulers of the Great Thousand Worlds were none other than the Angelic Kingdom. Clack, clack, clack. As the angelic altar enveloped Xiao Yan in the void, countless purifying energies spread, infiltrating his limbs, bones, and soul, eroding them from within. Countless forces within Xiao Yan's body slowly rose. A series of weak, helpless ripples quietly surrounded his mind. Even a profound fatigue surged from his brain. At this moment, his body and skin were completely purified by the angelic altar, and this suppression and purification would grow stronger with time. Xiao Yan's entire body and soul could no longer move, his being on the verge of collapse. Humph. Ants, you are nothing but ants. At that moment, the Dark King's attack was instantly revealed by the human godchild. The latter glanced coldly at Xiao Yan, who was trapped in the angelic altar. A strange, cruel killing intent appeared at the corner of his mouth. Slowly, his palm flipped, pressing down toward Xiao Yan's location. Seeing Archangel Ares gain decisive control, the human godchild would not give Xiao Yan any chance to fight back. With his demigod power applied, this time, even the so-called peerless genius Xiao Yan was doomed to die. Beside them, the Dark King watched, his countless powers seemingly ready to strike. Yet he made no move to interfere, silently watching as the human godchild unleashed such a devastating blow toward Xiao Yan. The previous impact from the Flame God's Cauldron had ended by destroying most of the angelic altar, shielding the bodies of the two women. As everyone's focus tightened in response to Xiao Yan's predicament, a torrent of black and white energy poured down from the heavens. The moment it surged, it overturned the world, shaking the yin and yang. It was an unstoppable force. Just sensing the attack of a half-step Doshan powerhouse, Xiao Yan vomited a mouthful of boiling blood, his body plummeting from the air toward the ground under the purification of the altar. In that instant, all his power was sealed and suppressed by the angelic altar, and a deadly crisis rapidly approached. Xiao Yan's body was enveloped in blood, his chest and skin torn and mangled, the scene grotesque and terrifying. Even the dragon god bone behind him faintly pulsed, releasing a jade-colored energy, attempting to protect Xiao Yan's soul. Without the dragon god bone and the blood essence of the golden dragon king, Xiao Yan would have long since turned to ash under the purifying power. But this was the might of the angelic altar, and with the human godchild's incoming strike, how could Xiao Yan in his dying state defend against it? A casual blow from a demigod powerhouse didn't even need thought to understand. It was terrifying beyond imagination. If Xiao Yan resisted now, the only result would be his utter annihilation. Ha ha ha. Is this the determination you have to save the Xiao clan? Now, it seems, it's nothing more than this. Ares' vicious gaze locked onto the near-death Xiao Yan, her eyes filled with growing disdain. With the suppression and purification from the angelic altar, and the human godchild's imminent destructive attack, there was no way Xiao Yan could survive. Everything was under their control. Xiao Yan. Seeing this scene, the king of beasts and others cried out, their pupils twitching with shock, a pang of unidentifiable sorrow surging in their hearts. But when they tried to intervene, they were blocked by even fiercer attacks from their enemies. However, facing the peak of the 9th reincarnation stage and the attacks of the demigod rank powerhouses, even if he were to self-destruct and release all his origins, it would likely be insufficient to counter the onslaught. For a moment, Xiao Yan gently shook his head, seemingly unable to find any solution, no matter what. Yet, the demonic power inside him, drawn out by the angel's power, emitted an endless, maddening grin. It seemed to be cheering, exulting, and awaiting something. As the torrent capable of overturning yin and yang surged downward, crimson blood foam continuously spilled from Xiao Yan's mouth. The reincarnation power within him was on the verge of collapsing. His long hair fluttered, and even in his smile, there was an overwhelming bitterness. Could this be the end of the road today? Angelic holy radiance. Be extinguished, sinner of the Xiao clan, who dared to touch the demons. Watching Xiao Yan, who seemed as powerless as a mere mortal ant, Ares' cold laughter painfully pierced the soul. Behind him, the wings of an angel instantly folded, causing a slight tremor in the void. A strange purple light rapidly converged. The moment it appeared, Yao Ji, Kai Lin, the king of beasts, and the others in the distance all slightly narrowed their eyes. They could distinctly sense a stirring fluctuation from within that light. With the combined attack of the human godchild and Ares, they were determined to annihilate Xiao Yan completely. The two forces shot towards Xiao Yan, Ares' attack in the lead. It seemed that once they reached Xiao Yan, everything would come to an end. At this moment, despair and sorrow filled the eyes of nearly everyone present. Roars of fury and anger tore through the sky, but it was all in vain. However, just as Ares' attack neared a 100-meter radius around Xiao Yan, the void around him was suddenly torn open by some terrifying force. A figure stepped out from the rift, gently waved his sleeve, and pierced through the layers of void. Then, under the gaze of countless people, the figure extended his hand and lightly grasped the dazzling angelic extinction power. With a casual twist, the vast angel's power transformed into countless glowing particles before being consumed by endless darkness. Qi, Great Elder. Xiao Yin, with heavy eyelids and a blank look in his eyes, struggled to gaze at the void before him. Before him stood a figure in black robes, standing firmly on the ground. Even with the black robes concealing the person, the ripple of power emanating from deep within his bloodline allowed Xiao Yin to recognize the true identity of this individual. It was none other than the Xiao clan's great elder, Xiao Yin, who had been out repairing the god-slaying ruler. Center of the human realm? Angel Kingdom. The black-robed figure slowly lifted his head, revealing a weathered face filled with fierce killing intent. Senior, Xiao Yin. In the distance, the two women, temporarily suppressed under the flame god's cauldron, felt their hearts tighten. They then looked at the suddenly appearing, aged figure. Their eyes reddened.